This is my TNA Sacrifice 2010 pay-per-view review. The opening match of this pay-per-view was the three-way tag team match for the #1 contendership, which had the Machineguns versus Beer Money Incorporated versus Team 3D. This was a very good match to start the pay-per-view off with. Very good, entertaining match. Solid opener. You saw some good stuff with the Machineguns and Beer Money Incorporated, Machineguns, and Team 3D worked good. And all three teams pretty much meshed well and worked very good with each other in this match to make it an entertaining match. And the Machineguns actually pick up the victory after they hit a neckbreaker crossbody combo to Brother Ray of Team 3D to pick the victory up. So Saban pins him. And the Machineguns become the #1 contenders for the Tag Team Championships. And I would say a 3-star match. Very good, solid opener. Good way to start the pay-per-view off with. And since most Machineguns picked up the victory, maybe TNA is going to finally give them the chance to become the TNA World Tag Team Champions. Now, they've had so many opportunities. They've chased the title so long that it's getting to the point, and it has gotten to the point a long time ago, that I wouldn't really even, make a big deal of it if they won the Tag Team Championships, because it's like who really cares at this point if they even win, because that's what they pretty much have done with them. It'd be good to see, hey, they finally won the Tag Team Championships, but pretty much have given up on TNA, doing anything good with the Machineguns, because they really have not done what they should have done with this tag team, because this could have been a very good tag team that should have been a World Tag Team Champions a long time ago, and you could have, had a very good feud with the Machineguns versus the Young Bucks, aka Generation Me, for the Tag Team Championships, and shown something very good in your tag team division, other than having someone like Team 3D, veterans, or the band being your, main focus of your tag team division. You need to have some young talent flourish within it. But, it's a good opener. I'm glad to see the Machineguns pick the victory up. But I'm just saying, I've gotten to the point that I really could care less if they win, because they've had so many opportunities, and TNA really has done a bad job of, making you seem like you should care if they win them. Then the next matchup was Orlando Jordan versus Rob Terry for the Global Championship, which is a title no one really even cares about. And this match, I would say, it was a little better than I was expecting. Meaning that going into this, I was expecting a Sharmell versus Jenna Maraska type quality match. That's what type of quality match I was expecting. We didn't get that. We got at least a, somewhat close to watchable match. It was going that route. But then it kind of dragged on a little longer than probably what it should have. And I would give the match, about, 1 star, maybe 1.5 stars. Because, it was at least somewhat, watchable, and it wasn't too bad of a match. And Rob Terry retains the Global Championship after hitting the Freak Buster to Orlando Jordan in this match. Like I said, was a little better than I was expecting, but not saying much. I mean, it wasn't a complete pile of shit. That's basically what I would say with the match. It was at least somewhat watchable a little bit. Then the next matchup was Douglas Williams versus Kazarian for the X Division Championship. And this was the match, I would say, that was probably match of the night. This match was by far match of the night. And I know a lot of people are thinking that, most people would think that going into this pay-per-view, obviously the world title match would be the main event, but I'll get on to that later. All I'll say right now is the main event was a little bit disappointing and wasn't as good as what I expected. But this match right here, Kazarian and Doug Williams for the X Division Championship, delivered to my full expectations with a very good match. Wasn't your typical X Division style match, meaning it wasn't, the high-flying, death-defying style of the X Division. It was more mat-based wrestling, technical wrestling with Doug Williams. Good back-and-forth action with these two. And Doug Williams picks the victory up to win the X Division Championship after hitting the Chaos Theory to Kazarian. This match is a very good match. Definitely one match on this pay-per-view that I would say is must-see match right here. I'll give it 3 3/4 stars. Very good, entertaining match right there with them two. Next matchup was Tara versus Madison Rayne in the Career versus Knockouts title match. Obviously a very predictable match, since everyone obviously knew this was going to be Tara's last match in TNA, that Madison Rayne was obviously going to retain the Knockouts Championship, which obviously did happen. And I would say it was a pretty decent match in a pretty okay way for Tara to end her TNA career. Pretty decent women's match here with her and Madison Rayne. Pulled out actually an okay match with her. And like I said, Madison Rayne retains the title, and I would give it, 2 stars. Pretty average match. And, nothing great, but nothing bad. Then the next matchup was Inc. of Shannon Moore and Jesse Neal versus the band of Scott Hall and Kevin Nash for the TNA Tag Team Championships. And this match, I would say, was a match that, if you're trying to put over your tag team division and your, tag teams are, the best thing in one of the best things in your company, and you're trying to make it seem like you got a thick tag team division, this is not the perfect match you should put on a pay-per-view to try to make that point across, because obviously these two, it wasn't a terrible match, but it was, a watchable match. That's what I would pretty much say this match was, just a watchable match. Obviously, the band retained the TNA World Tag Team Championships. It wasn't anything too bad. Now, at one point near the end of the match, you saw Brother Ray come out there, look like he's going to try to cost the band the World Tag Team Championships, which is one of those things with him coming out there, and obviously with the band retaining, since they had, one of the members of Team 3D come out there, Brother Ray come out there, and kind of, look like, trying to get involved in the match, cost them the Tag Team Championships. You would think that that was the tag team that won the #1 contendership, because that would be the way it would look like, with him coming out there, then further and, building up something with Team 3D versus the band. That's the way it looked like they would look like what they were doing. But no, you remember obviously earlier, the Machineguns won the #1 contendership, which made this kind of pointless for Brother Ray to come out there. Well, I guess because of the whole thing with, Team 3D pretty much training Jesse Neal and stuff like that, it made sense of him, having some, invested interest in this match, but at some point it kind of made it look like that was what the tag feud was going to be next, instead of, obviously the Machineguns getting the next opportunity to become tag team champions, which obviously looks like they might finally go that route, and I'm going to say that's a big might, because they've had so many chances in the past. But this tag match, like I said, is a watchable match. I would give it 1 3/4 stars. It wasn't anything too bad. Then the next matchup was Abyss versus Desmond Wolf in the Chelsea versus Ring match. And this match, for some reason or whatnot, Abyss and Desmond Wolf did not mesh very well with each other. I mean, it picked up a little near the end of the match, but it kind of dragged on a little bit. And for some reason or whatnot, you would think these two athletes would be able to pull off a pretty good match against each other, but they really didn't mesh well with each other. They really didn't, coexist well in the ring to, work good with each other, which was kind of the down point of this match. I wouldn't, say it was anything bad, but just like, probably the previous match before this, like the Tag Team Championship match with the band and Inc. It was kind of like just a watchable match, nothing really too special here within this match. And Abyss picks the victory up after hitting the Black Hole Slam to Desmond Wolf in this match, and he gets Chelsea for 30 days, so obviously the Desmond Wolf and Abyss feud probably will continue after this pay-per-view, maybe having Desmond Wolf and Abyss both being involved in the King of the Mountain match, or maybe another singles match at the Slammiversary pay-per-view, which I'm hoping they just have him in the King of the Mountain match, because now if these two pulled off a good match, I'll be like, I want to see it again, but I don't necessarily want to see it again, because, it was a watchable match, but for some reason or whatnot, they did not mesh well with each other, and with that, you don't want to try it out again and try it out one of your big pay-per-views like a Slammiversary next month. Then the next matchup was Mr. Anderson versus Jeff Hardy. This match I was really looking forward to. These two worked good with each other, good back-and-forth action. It wasn't a great match. I would say it was a good match. That's what I would classify this match as. And Jeff Hardy picks the victory up after hitting the Swanton Bomb to Mr. Anderson in this match in about a 2 3/4 star match. Pretty good overall, solid match. Nothing great, but, a good overall enjoyable match between these two. Then the next matchup was the Sting versus Jeff Jarrett match, which going to this pay-per-view, that I know there were some people that are like, I don't want to see this. I don't think anyone wants to see this, and people saying that, which I actually kind of wanted to see this match a little bit, just because, these two have had very good chemistry with each other in the past. They mesh very well with each other. They work good in the ring with each other. And these are the two, former, WCW, ECW stars and stars of the past that actually, when they work against each other still, they actually, pull off good matches. They've had very good matches in the past. Some matches, even close to some great matches in the past. And I was expecting something good with each other within this match and seeing something good. But no, you didn't see that. What they did was, when Jeff Jarrett looked like he was about to come to the ring, they cut to the backstage area. Sting already beat down Jeff Jarrett, and he pretty much just pummels him all the way to the ring. he starts hitting him with the baseball bat, then gets him in the ring, and pretty much right when he gets in the ring and the match is official, he hits the death drop to Jeff Jarrett and picks the victory up. So Sting wins this match. And since it was one of these types of matches where it was really, the stuff they did before, it was not really a match. Can't really give this a rating, so this is one of those matches I give an NA to, just because it was really a match you can't really give a rating to, just because, really all the stuff before it was nothing more than just, Sting just pummeling him, battering him with the baseball bat and just beating him down with that. Then finally getting him in the ring and hitting the death drop, which with that, when the match became official, it was a fairly short match. Really wasn't anything long at all, but it did kind of drag on after that. Obviously with this, it looks like they're writing Jeff Jarrett off of television. Then he got on the stretcher. Sting knocked that over. Then you saw Hogan come out there. Then you saw security get involved. And, this is one of those types of things with this. If they did not want to go a route of actually having a regular match with each other on a pay-per-view with Sting and Jeff Jarrett, this is something that should have happened on TNA Impact, not a pay-per-view, because it's just a segment that should have been, handled on television instead of thrown together on pay-per-view, because it kind of dragged along, and like I said, something that should have been put on television instead of a pay-per-view if they were to go this route right here. But the one thing is, I guess it kind of helps with whole Sting's heel persona and stuff. It furthers his heel persona and his persona that, he's, out for himself only. He's not, with anyone. He just wants to go out there and destroy everyone. That's kind of the way his character is right now. So it kind of made sense for him doing that. But like I said, it's something that, with the way they booked it, is something they should have just put on television instead of throwing it on pay-per-view. Or they could have just done something where Sting just, the match starts, they actually go against each other, and Sting gets himself disqualified intentionally. They could have done something like that instead of going this type of route. Like I said, give the match, NA, since, it wasn't really a match right there. Then the next matchup was for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. This was AJ Styles versus RVD. And before I give my thoughts on this match, I gotta say this match was a tad bit disappointing. Not in the way that it was a terrible match, because it was a good match. I would say it was even somewhat a very good match between these two right here. But it's one of those matches that I think going into it, I had too much high expectations. I think a lot of us had probably too much high expectations for it. Because, I was expecting something like a Match of the Year candidate, at least a 4.5-star match, maybe even a match teetering almost to a 5-star match, which that's what I was kind of expecting, which might have been expecting a little too much. But I thought these two could have had a better match with each other than what they had here, which they had a pretty good match. It was enjoyable. It was a good match between those two. You saw good back-and-forth action. And during the beginning of the match, you saw Ric Flair try to get involved within the match. Then Earl Hebner throws him to the back. Instead of him going to the back, he goes to the commentary desk with Mike Today and Taz. And he's on commentary. And this is the other thing that kind of made this match a little annoying, that kind of took away from the match a little bit, was when Ric Flair was on commentary, they kept on pandering the camera back to him every couple, 10, 20 seconds. They kept going back to, Ric Flair, on commentary, just talking while the match was taking place, which kind of took away from the match in some sense right there. Then near the end of the match, Ric Flair leaves the announcer's desk, goes to the ring, and then you see Jay Lethal come out there, attack Ric Flair, low blow Ric Flair, then put him into the figure 4. Then in the ring, you see AJ. Not that long after that, you see AJ Styles and RVD they going back and forth for a little bit. Then RVD hits the 5-star frog splash to AJ Styles to retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And I would say, 3.5-star match. It was a good match. It was an entertaining match, but it was something I was expecting a whole lot more from, which is it was a match I would even admit that I probably had a little too much high expectations for going into it, but at the same point, it should have probably delivered a whole lot more than what it actually did. And, the Flair stuff with him on commentary, they kept pointing the camera back to him and putting the camera on him while the match was going place. That kind of took away from it. And the whole Jay Lethal and Ric Flair thing, it's just something, maybe it's going to be able to help Jay Lethal become a star within TNA, and maybe the whole Macho Man character is done. But it's something that kind of, at the same time, took away from the match to some extent. Not too much. I mean, I know the way TNA was, they could have booked this match a whole lot worse. They could have had, this match have, 20 or 30 run-ins and stuff like that, and thankfully they didn't go that route, and they just, did a little, kind of just, Ric Flair doing some types of things, but it kind of took away from the match a little bit, but still an enjoyable match between those two. Like I said, I give it 3.5 stars. Overall, I'll give this pay-per-view a 7.25 because there were some good stuff on this pay-per-view. I mean, the main event was pretty good. Just like I said, I was expecting a little more from it. The X Division title match with Kazarian versus Douglas Williams was a great match. The opener three-way tag team match with Beer Money Incorporated versus Team 3D versus Motors and Machine Guns was good as well. And really, there was nothing really bad on this pay-per-view. I mean, sure, there was a couple of matches that, were just, watchable at best and stuff like that, but it was nothing really terrible on this pay-per-view, I would say. I mean, even, the Sting and Jeff Jarrett thing, probably the only thing you might be able to classify as something terrible because it's something they could have done on TV. And the Orlando Jordan match and Rob Terry is obviously a match no one wants to see again, but it wasn't as terrible as I was expecting. It wasn't as terrible as I was expecting, so at least it wasn't that bad. And like I said, give this pay-per-view a 7.25 out of 10. There's some good stuff on it. And yeah, that's it for my TNA Sacrifice 2010 pay-per-view review. Peace. Other than having someone like Team 3D, veterans, or, the band being your, main focus of your tag team division. You need to have some young talent flourish within it. But, it's a good opener. I'm glad to see the Machine Guns pick the victory up. But I'm just saying, I've gotten to the point that I really could care less if they win because they've had so many opportunities, and TNA really has done a bad job of, making you seem like you should care if they win them. Then the next match, good to see, hey, they finally won the tag team championships, but pretty much have given up on TNA, doing anything good with the Motors and Machine Guns because they really have not done what they should have done with this tag team, because this could have been a very good tag team that should have been a World Tag Team Champions a long time ago, and you could have, had a very good feud with the Motors and Machine Guns versus the Young Bucks, aka Generation Me, for the tag team championships, and shown something very good in your tag team division. This is my TNA Sacrifice 2010 pay-per-view review. The opening match of this pay-per-view was the three-way tag team match for the #1 contendership, which had the Motors and Machine Guns versus Beer Money Incorporated versus Team 3D. And this was a very good match to start the pay-per-view off with. Very good, entertaining match. Solid opener. You saw some good stuff with the Motors and Machine Guns and Beer Money Incorporated, Motors and Machine Guns, and Team 3D worked good. And since Motors and Machine Guns picked up the victory, maybe TNA is going to finally give them the chance to become the TNA World Tag Team Champions. Now, they've had so many opportunities. They've chased the title so long that it's getting to the point, and it has gotten to the point a long time ago, that I wouldn't really even, make a big deal of it if they won the Tag Team Championships, because it's like who really cares at this point if they even win, because that's what they pretty much have done with them. It'd be good. And all three teams pretty much meshed well and worked very good with each other in this match to make it an entertaining match. And the Motors and Machine Guns actually pick up the victory after they hit a neck breaker crossbody combo to Brother Ray of Team 3D to pick the victory up. So Saban pins him, and the Motors Machine Guns become the #1 contenders for the Tag Team Championships. And I would say a 3-star match, very good, solid opener, good way to start the pay-per-view off with.